Have you ever been like right in the middle of a sentence in a new language, searching for a word, and you just blank,
Yeah.
completely stuck?
Oh, yeah. Or maybe you're trying to drill some new vocabulary, repeating it, and it just feels like it's not sinking in.
Exactly. It's
Right.
so frustrating, like hitting a brick wall. But what if there were clever tools, maybe like a whole set of strategies
Mm.
that could help you navigate those moments?
And make learning actually stick
Yeah,
and help you communicate more smoothly.
right?
Well, that's pretty much what we're doing today in this deep dive. We're uncovering the often unseen power of what we call teaching, learning, and communicative strategies.
Okay.
It's really all about helping you find those crucial research-backed techniques that make language learning and communication, well, not just easier, but faster and more effective for you.
And the insights we're looking at today, they come from a specialized unit focused on foreign language teaching and learning, right? So some really solid concepts here. So where do we start? How do we even begin to unpack these often overlooked techniques? Maybe just with the basics. What is a strategy here?
Yeah, that's a great place to kick things off. The word strategy itself, um, it actually comes from the Greek strategia, which literally meant generalship of the war.
Wow, okay. So like military planning.
Exactly. It was all about the optimal planned management of troops in a campaign, a very deliberate plan.
Okay, thankfully, learning vocabulary isn't quite a battlefield, usually.
Hopefully not. So, in a non-military sense, the Oxford definition from 1990 puts it nicely, a plan, step, or conscious action toward achievement of an objective.
Right.
So for language learners, strategies are simply these deliberate operations you use to make learning and communication easier, faster, and ultimately more effective. It's about being proactive.
That makes a lot of sense. So, why are these deliberate plans, these strategies, just so critical for language learners? Especially when you're still figuring things out, you haven't mastered it yet.
Precisely. Because learners haven't got the whole language down yet, they absolutely need alternative ways to, well, get their message across, and also to help them through the different stages of learning.
Okay.
And this ties into a bigger idea, communicative competence. You can think of it as having four main parts, sort of like building blocks.
Right.
You've got grammatical competence, knowing the rules; sociolinguistic competence, knowing how to use language right in different social settings; discourse competence, making sense, connecting ideas.
And the fourth one, that's where strategies come in, isn't it? Strategic competence.
Spot on. Strategic competence is your ability to actually use these strategies like gestures, or maybe talking around a word you don't know, to overcome those gaps in your language.
So, it's not just a crush, it's an active skill.
Exactly. They're active ways of engaging with the language, pushing you forward even when you feel stuck. They're actually integral parts of becoming proficient. So understanding and even actively teaching these strategies is really crucial for building overall linguistic competence.
Yeah, I can see that. But, I mean, not everyone's going to use the same strategies, are they? Or use them the same way. What kind of things influence which strategies a learner might pick up?
Oh, there's a whole range of factors. For instance, uh, motivation is huge. More motivated students, they tend to use more strategies, explore more,
Makes sense. If you care more, you try harder.
pretty much.
Yeah.
And gender sometimes plays a role. Some studies show females often report using a greater overall variety of strategies.
Interesting.
Your cultural background can shape things too. Like some Asian cultures might place a higher value on strategies like rote learning, repetition for memorization, which can be super effective for certain things.
Yeah, that's fascinating how learning styles can be so culturally influenced.
It really is. And your own attitudes and beliefs, if you have negative attitudes, that can really hinder you from even trying strategies.
Right, like a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Could be. Also, the type of task you're doing matters. Different tasks just naturally trigger different strategies. And, of course, your age and your stage in learning the language, as you get better, you have more linguistic tools, right? So that opens up a wider range of strategies you can use.
Okay, so your competence level itself changes your strategy use.
Definitely. And things like your general learning style and even your tolerance of ambiguity, how comfortable you are with things being unclear, that impacts your choices too.
Okay, so understanding the why and your own factors is like knowing the terrain. What about the actual tools? Let's dig into those communication strategies, the ones you use like right there in the moment, mid-conversation, when you hit a snag.
Right, the real-time problem solvers. Farage and Casper defined them back in '83 as conscious plans for solving what to an individual presents itself as a problem in reaching a particular communicative goal.
So a plan to fix a communication problem as it happens.
Exactly. And while native speakers use them too, let's be clear, They're absolutely crucial for second or foreign language learners who are often working with, let's say, incomplete knowledge. They're like your linguistic first aid kit.
Linguistic first aid kit, I like that. So when you hit that wall, these are your tools. And you said there are two main types, achievement and reduction.
That's the main split, yeah.
Huh.
Both are ways to compensate for expression problems, but they do it differently. Achievement strategies are basically when you, the learner, try to compensate for a language gap by using some kind of substitute to get the message across anyway.
Okay.
Even if it's not exactly what a native speaker might say, you're trying to achieve the original message or get as close as possible.
Can you give us an example? What does that sound like in practice?
Sure. Think of a student trying to talk about temperatures. Maybe they say something like, it was 20 degrees hot, meaning 20 above zero, or 20 degrees freezing for 20 below.
Oh, okay. Not standard, but you totally get what they mean.
Exactly. The message gets through because they improvised an alternative way to say it, even if the phrasing is a bit off.
Right. It's that kind of linguistic MacGyvering. I remember trying to describe ice in Spanish once and calling it agua dura, hard water. Got the point across. So how does that break down? What specific achievement strategies are there?
Well, one group is guessing strategies. This is where the speaker tries to invent a word or takes a bit of a gamble.
Like what?
Could be foreignizing, taking a word from your first language, your L1, and saying it like you think it should sound in the second language, the L2, like a French speaker saying maneuver with an English accent.
Okay, I'm hoping it's close enough.
Or just straight up borrowing, using an L1 word directly and hoping the listener gets it. Like an English speaker in France saying, il y a deux candles sur la cheminée.
Fingers crossed.
Right. Or you might try coining new words, inventing a target language word based on concepts you know. Like maybe calling a balloon an airball.
Airball. I like it. Creative.
Or maybe literal translation, just directly translating an idiom or word from your L1. Like that example of a Portuguese speaker using feast when they mean party or maybe holiday.
Gotcha. So that's all kind of guessing or inventing. What if you try to use the language you do know?
That leads us to paraphrase strategies. Here, you're finding an alternative expression using the L2 knowledge you already possess.
How does that work?
One way is lexical substitution. You use a synonym, maybe, or just a more general term, an umbrella term, like a student saying, a customer who is in a hurry,
Yeah.
about to lose his airplane, instead of finding the specific word for flight or passenger.
Okay, using a broader term
No.
or the circumlocution, right? Talking around it.
Exactly. That's when you use several words to describe a concept because you don't have the single precise term. Like describing a shopping basket as it has a basket who probably serves for buying things in the market.
You paint a picture with the words you have.
You got it. And finally, within achievement strategies, there are cooperative strategies. This is where you actively enlist your conversation partner's help.
Ah, asking for help. How?
Could be directly asking, what's the word for? Or asking for a translation.
Hmm.
Or maybe pointing at something, using mime gestures.
Right.
Or even giving sort of a sentence frame, hoping they fill in the blank. Like if you say, it's a type of shirt, it's very plain.
And the other person jumps in with plain, a plain shirt.
Exactly. That's cooperative. So those are all achievement strategies, trying to get the full message across one way or another.
Okay, makes sense. Now, what about the other side? Reduction strategies. How are they different?
They're quite different in their aim. Instead of trying to find an alternative to express the full original message, you actually alter the message itself. You might manage only a partial solution, or sometimes even just abandon the original intended meaning altogether.
So you're simplifying or maybe even changing the topic slightly to avoid the tricky part.
Pretty much. You're reducing the communicative load in
Yeah.
a way. Remember that example of the student describing their job in a laundromat?
Vaguely.
They couldn't find the words to describe the job fully, so they kind of switched to talking about the machine itself. It's not difficult because there's only 3 buttons, all automatical.
Ah, right. They abandoned the complex description of duties and focused on the simpler machine controls.
Exactly. They kept the conversation roughly on topic, but reduced the message to something they could express.
Okay, so it's pragmatic, keeps the conversation going, even if you lose some detail. But I wonder, could relying too much on reduction maybe slow down your actual learning if you're always avoiding the hard stuff?
That's a really important point.
Hmm.
Yes, while they keep communication flowing, if you only use reduction strategies, you might avoid pushing yourself to learn the more precise vocabulary or structures you actually need.
Right.
Within reduction, you have avoidance strategies. This is where you consciously alter your message to steer clear of anticipated trouble.
Oh, so.
Could be avoiding certain sounds you find hard, or tricky grammar structures, or even specific topics or message content because you know you don't have the words.
Okay.
A common type is meaning replacement. Instead of struggling to compliment, say, the specific decor in someone's house, you just say something general like, "Thanks so much for having me over, it was lovely."
Ah, the diplomatic approach, or saying you enjoyed the meal instead of trying to remember the name of that specific dish.
Exactly. Very useful sometimes. Then there are also compensatory strategies that fall under this reduction umbrella, though the term can be a bit confusing as it's used elsewhere too.
Okay.
In this context, it means altering the message order, maybe repeating parts, basically to buy yourself time to think and organize your thoughts when you're struggling to express something.
Like stalling tactics,
It's a
almost.
bit, yeah. Or maybe using bits of what the other person just said to help structure your own sentence, like in that example where one student was struggling to describe a bicycle accident.
And the other student helped by rephrasing parts.
Right, rephrasing and clarifying. It's a way to manage the communication flow when you're finding it difficult, sometimes involving reducing the complexity of what you originally intended to say.
Okay, got it. So those are the communication strategies for dealing with problems in the conversation itself. But you mentioned another whole set, learning strategies. These are different, right? More about long-term improvement.
Exactly. Learning strategies are the conscious steps you take to enhance your own learning process, to make it easier, faster, more enjoyable, maybe more transferable to new situations.
So tools for self-improvement.
Right. They're tools for active, self-directed involvement. They help you with acquiring, storing, retrieving, and using information. The key difference is the purpose. Communication strategies are about getting by now. Learning strategies are about getting better over time.
Getting by versus getting better. I like that distinction. And these are divided into two main groups, direct and indirect.
That's the usual classification, yes.
Yep.
And it's really important to remember they support each other. They're interconnected. Let's start with direct strategies. These directly involve the target language itself, requiring mental processing of the language.
Okay. And the first type here is memory strategies, mnemonics.
Yep, memory strategies or mnemonics. These are super helpful for storing and retrieving new information. People have used them for ages. Think of ancient orators using the method of loci.
The memory palace thing, matching speech parts to rooms.
That's the one. The core idea is creating mental linkages, applying images and sounds, reviewing effectively, making associations, arranging things logically, using action. It has to be personally meaningful, though. Right. And they are particularly powerful for learning vocabulary. Why? Because our minds are often better at storing visual information than just verbal stuff. Visual images can be transferred to long-term memory more efficiently. They help with recall. And honestly, a lot of classroom learning tends to be visual anyway.
It reminds me of that movie Inside Out, where all the core memories are like these visual snapshots.
That's a perfect analogy.
Yeah.
So, concrete examples. Grouping words by topic, like all the fruit words together. Associating new words with concepts you already know, like maybe linking a new word for essential to the phrase bread and butter.
Okay.
Placing new words into meaningful sentences you create. Using imagery, like creating a mental picture for an abstract word.
Yeah.
Semantic mapping, drawing connections, the keyword method.
What's that one again?
That's where you find a word in your own language that sounds like the new word, and then create an image linking that sound-alike word to the new word's meaning. Or even just using rhymes.
Lots of ways to make connections then. Okay, what about the next type of direct strategy? Cognitive strategies.
Your cognitive strategies help you understand and produce the new language by actively manipulating or transforming it. They involve more direct processing.
How so?
Well, there are strategies for practicing. Simple repetition, sure, but also more formal practice with pronunciation or writing systems. Recognizing and using formulas like, hello, how are you? Recombining elements you know to make new sentences. And importantly, practicing naturalistically, actually having conversations, reading, listening, writing for real purposes.
So actually using the language actively.
Exactly. Then there are strategies for receiving and sending messages. Things like getting the main idea, the gist when you skim a text, or finding specific details when you scan. Using resources like dictionaries or online tools.
Okay, processing input and output.
And there are also analyzing and reasoning strategies. These tend to be used more by adult learners. Things like deductive reasoning, applying a general grammar rule to a specific case, analyzing expressions by breaking them down, comparing your first language to the second contrastive analysis, translating, transferring knowledge.
Really thinking about the language structure.
Right. And finally, under cognitive, strategies for creating structure for input and output, like taking notes effectively, summarizing information, highlighting key points, organizing the information.
Okay. Now, you mentioned compensation strategies under communication, but they appear here too under learning strategies.
Yes, and this highlights the overlap and the different purposes. Here, compensation strategies are used to help you keep learning and using the language despite gaps in your knowledge, but with a focus on learning from the experience.
So not just getting by, but using the gap as a learning moment.
Precisely. A key one here is inferencing. That's guessing the meaning of unknown words using clues. Linguistic clues, like your L1 knowledge or the grammar around the word. And non-linguistic clues, the context, the situation, pictures, topic knowledge.
So making educated guesses to understand and learn.
Exactly. And then for overcoming limitations in speaking and writing, again, similar actions, but with a learning focus.
Mhm.
Maybe switching to your L1 briefly to ask for the word, getting help explicitly, using mime or gesture strategically, adjusting your message by simplifying it, like saying pencil for pen, but noticing the difference. Maybe coining a word like paper holder for notebook, but again, trying to learn the right word.
Ah, I see. The action might look similar, but the intent is geared towards acquisition now, not just immediate communication survival.
You've got it. So those are the direct strategies. Now for the indirect strategies. These manage your learning without directly involving the target language itself. They're like the support system.
The behind-the-scenes crew for language learning.
Exactly. First up are metacognitive strategies. Meta means beyond or about, so these are about thinking about your thinking. They help you control your own cognition, coordinate the whole learning process
I know.
through things like planning your learning, evaluating how you're doing, centering your attention, arranging your study time and space. They help you focus, link new stuff to what you already know.
So being organized and self-aware about your learning.
Yes. Examples include overviewing a chapter before you read it, consciously seeking out practice opportunities, finding conversation partners, going to foreign films, listening to radio, self-monitoring, noticing your own errors, and self-evaluating, judging your progress.
Being your own learning manager, basically.
Pretty much. Next are affective strategies. These deal with the emotional side, regulating emotions, attitudes, motivations. And these are hugely influential.
Right, because if you're feeling anxious or blocked, it's hard to learn anything.
Absolutely. Good learners tend to know how to manage their feelings. Negative feelings can act like a filter, literally blocking input. Teachers influence this too, the classroom atmosphere.
So what kind of strategies help here?
Things like lowering anxiety, using relaxation techniques, deep breathing, meditation, maybe listening to music, even just using laughter, encouraging yourself, positive self-talk, taking sensible risks, rewarding yourself for effort, and taking your emotional temperature, noticing your feelings, maybe keeping a language learning diary, talking about your feelings.
Wow, really addresses the whole person, not just the brain. Okay, and the last indirect type, social strategies.
Yes, social strategies. Language is social, right? So these strategies involve interacting with other people to help your learning.
Makes sense. Look what?
Asking questions is a big one. Asking for clarification. Could you say that again?
Yeah.
For verification. So, you mean. Or even for correction. How would you say that?
Right.
Also, cooperating with others. Working with peers on tasks. Cooperating with proficient users of the language native speakers or advanced learners. Finding opportunities to interact outside class.
Getting out there and talking to people.
Absolutely. And finally, empathizing with others. This means trying to understand things from another's perspective, developing cultural understanding, observing others, being aware of their thoughts and feelings. It smooths interaction and deepens engagement.
What a comprehensive toolkit. It's really clear from this deep dive that these strategies, both communication and learning ones, aren't just little tricks. They're fundamental linguistic devices.
They really are. They make language learning more effective, more accessible. It's not just what you learn, but how you learn it, and how you adapt when you encounter challenges.
And that's why it's so vital for teachers and for learners ourselves to actively think about and use these strategies, isn't it?
Absolutely. They're not just helpful, they're pretty much essential for real linguistic development. They turn those moments of struggle into genuine opportunities for growth.
This has definitely shifted how I think about getting stuck. It's not necessarily a failure, it's more like a prompt, a cue to deploy a strategy.
That's a great way to look at it.
So thinking about everything we've discussed today, for you listening, of all those communication strategies we talked about, guessing, paraphrasing, asking for help, Which one do you think would make the biggest, most immediate difference in your ability to actually connect with someone in a new language? Something to ponder.